everyone, and welcome. I am Cheryl Brooks, host of the Book Buzz Show, for anyone who doesn't know. And tonight, my co host is Tina Brown. She's going to be helping me out today.
Hello.
And, and my guest tonight is author Lashell Collins, and we are discussing her book, Love and Hate Crimes, which is an Isaac Taylor mystery. Lashell, do you have your book available where you can show the cover?
That's book one.
Okay, you get your idea of the cover for it. And I highly recommend everyone going out and looking up Isaac Taylor Mystery. I'm sure you will enjoy it as I have. I'm going to tell you a little bit about tonight's guest. Lashell Collins is an American author of romantic suspense. She walks to the beat of her own drum, but that's okay because she's got a pretty good sense of rhythm. Basically, she's a geeky, quirky, laid back, rocker lover kind of girl who's married to a retired cop, motorcycle riding, bad boy alpha all her own. And she likes to write about sexy men who are sworn to uphold the law. When she's not busy tapping away on her laptop and living vicariously through her characters, she can usually be found watching Star Trek, listening to music, playing with her two Bernese mountain dogs, Gus and Gracie, stuffing her face full of Chinese food, or riding on the back of her husband's Harley Davidson. I like Chinese myself. Between her book characters and the ones she knows in real life, her plate stays pretty full, but she loves to hear from readers, so give her a shout sometimes. And I welcome you. Thank you so much for agreeing to join me tonight.
Thank you for the invite.
You're very welcome. And we'll get right into it because there's a lot to discuss. One thing is, how long have you been writing professionally?
I think I published my first trilogy. I think it was 2012.
Okay.
I think.
Was it
13.
Was it a part of this series or was it something different?
No, it was something very different, and it's not available anymore. I took it down.
Okay.
I took it down because, in my personal opinion, the story was pretty good, but the writing was crap. So I took it down.
Okay.
But I've been writing ever since.
Okay.
And what made you? Well, this was kind of answered in the bio that I read, but what made you decide to write about an interracial couple in this series?
Actually, the beginning premise for this story was, why don't you write a story where they talk to each other on the phone and then they meet in person and discover that they're not the same race. So that's how that started. And that idea actually came from my husband.
And I love that. I'm sorry if I have on this mask because I chipped two of my teeth, not just one, two. So I had the mask pulled down a little bit, just so in case you're wondering, why does she have that mask pulled down like that? But, that is the reason. But I really liked the idea of them meeting over the phone for a wrong number, and then him calling back, and then they strike up a conversation and get to know each other over the phone. I love that.
Yeah.
And then it was so funny when they finally did meet in person, and they both had in their head an idea of what they look like.
Right.
So that was a shocker for them. What did you think, Katina, of that scene?
I think that was a great way to bring them together for sure. It takes away all the what do you call it? The conceptions, the preconceptions, and the prejudices that we have sometimes when we see somebody first.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that was great.
Right, and I actually think it gave them a head start. gives them a head start because they were actually talking on the phone a few times before they actually met.
Right.
So it was like they
made a connection before they ever saw each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see. We have somebody in the audience saying it was a wonderful beginning. I have been a fan ever since. I have too. I love it. I love the series and I love the character. And I felt for him and let me take this down a little bit. I felt for him and Sydney in the beginning. And this is in book 1, Katina. So
right.
But basically the way that they met and they both were like fragile and a little lonely and damaged. So they both were drawn to each other, I think, from that point of view as well. But how did you come up with the idea of combining the supernatural with mystery? Because I thought that was interesting too.
Thank you, but I can't take credit for that. Someone recently asked me the question, why or how did you come up with the idea to make Isaac psychic? And my response was, I didn't make Isaac psychic. He told me he was psychic.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah. So I really don't know where that idea came from. I'm a plotter. That's my process. So I plot out the story before I ever start writing it. And while I was plotting book 1, it's like there was something that, this is going to sound strange to somebody who's not a writer, but a lot of times you'll hear writers say their characters talk to them. And that's very true in my case. And so when I was plotting the story, there was like something Isaac was holding back, and once we finally got to, this is what's going on, then it made sense because, he was used to hiding that from the world.
Right.
So he hid it from me too for a while.
Okay. I like that.
So that was actually going to be one of my questions for you about your process. Because I know about that, the characters taking on a life of their own and taking you places you didn't expect. So I was curious if that your initial vision of Isaac and Sydney was what it turned out to be, or did it kind of evolve into, who they are?
In a way, no. Because like I said, the original concept was just take these two people who meet over the phone, and then they discover that they're not the same race.
Right.
The psychic thing didn't come for a while. It didn't come right away. So in that way, it was kind of not where I expected it to go, but.
So you, like you said, you knew it was something that he was hiding. Isaac was hiding from you, but you didn't know what. Okay.
Yeah.
And are you a fan of like paranormal and supernatural in general?
I am. I actually write paranormal, but I got to a place in my writing where because I feel like I was writing all the things, and I really wanted to pare down and just focus on one genre. And romantic suspense is my first love. So that's what I wanted to focus on. And so when it took a little paranormal turn, it was unexpected, but I went with it because, that's what he said, it was a part of him. So I went with it, but I really tried to keep the series from veering too far into the paranormal.
Okay.
Isaac he's just a man who happens to be psychic, but he's, his feet are firmly in the normal world, if that makes sense.
It does, and he comes across like that too. I was happy to see that he has come more into embracing his abilities though than he was in the beginning of the series, and and so I was happy to see that. With your paranormal, I'm gonna have to check those out, the paranormal books, because I am a paranormal fan as well. It's a mystery and suspense.
Okay.
So I look forward to reading those. You've been writing this series for a while, but did you have any special research in the beginning of the series or in this book to learn? Well, I guess because you said your husband is a retired cop.
He is.
Was he a resource for you as far as police procedures?
He's always a resource. He's like, if I need like info on certain guns or tactical police procedures, just, every day, like, does this sound like something two cops would talk about? And, all things police related, he's my go-to source.
That's good that you have an in-house resource.
Yeah.
Now, what about Sydney? She's a computer genius.
Not really genius, but she knows her way around a computer, and she's a teacher by trade. But she, due to her life circumstances, she wanted to take a different path, and I don't want to give away any spoilers, but in book 1, she's very much a victim, and she doesn't want to be. And so the next few books really focus on her learning how to be strong and stand on her own 2 feet and take care of herself and get brave and all that stuff.
And that was refreshing too to see that, because I actually missed a few books in the middle. I don't know how, but I'm gonna have to go back and reread. But it was refreshing to see how much she's grown, and that she's taking charge, and
she's learned how to kick butt.
Right, and I see that the growth in actually her and Isaac, and is a testament to them being, as far as them as a couple, how they inspire each other to be their best, and they bring out the best in each other. I love them as a couple.
That was my favorite part.
Thank you.
Their dynamic was amazing. It really was.
Very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It draws you in, because that's what made me a fan of the first book. And the second book is their relationship and what they do. I love the way that they love on each other, basically.
Thank you.
Support each other. Yeah.
Yes. And it's not like corny or sappy. It feels so realistic and authentic.
Thank you for saying that. That means a lot. I try really hard.
Yeah, it sounds like
I want them to,
It sounds like people you might know, like your neighbors or a girlfriend.
And that's always,
and you're like couple goals. You see that couple,
right.
That's what I envision with those two.
And that's exactly how I feel about it too.
Thank you so much.
What do you like about writing mysteries? And also, what are some of the challenges in writing mysteries? Because I know that it's a rhythm to it.
I think the answer to both of those questions are the same. What I like about writing mysteries is also what's challenging about it. Like I don't want to say pressure. What's the word? Just the desire to craft a story that, first of all, makes sense, that's plausible,
right.
A mystery that's plausible, and to fit all the little pieces together and, weave all those strands and come up with I don't know. It's challenging, but it's fun to try to figure it all out, make all the pieces fit.
Right.
Like you start with the crime, and then you got to figure out, okay, why is he doing this? The bad guy, why is he doing this? And how do the good guys figure it out? I don't know. That's the fun of it and the challenge of it at the same time.
Do you like using red herrings a lot in your books?
Sometimes. Yeah, I do. Sometimes red herrings are hard to make work. But yeah, they're fun.
And can you explain what a red herring is for those who may be like, red herring? What is that?
A red herring is so like when you're writing a mystery, a red herring is the person who you really think did it, and there's all this evidence. Mm-hmm. At least you think there's all this evidence.
To throw you off the,
yes,
the
to throw
reader
you
off the trail a little bit.
They're not really the killer.
And I, as a reader, I like them too. Sometimes they're done so well. I mean, you just think that wherever they're steering you is where you're going to end up, and then when you don't, it's like, oh my goodness, I never saw that coming. Yeah. I was also going to ask you, do you watch mysteries on TV?
All the time. All the time. I love TV shows about like cops or detectives or that kind of thing. Like, yeah, that's my jam.
Yeah, same with me. What's your favorite to watch?
I've got a lot of favorites. I like Castle. I like Monk. I like Blue Bloods.
Monk kind of. I'm not as much of a fan as some people are with that, but
really,
I love it.
So, yeah.
My favorites that I watch is like more like Murder, She Wrote.
Murder, She Wrote, yes.
Columbo.
Okay, old school.
Old school, yeah.
Yeah. I do love Matlock. I do love.
Oh yeah, Matlock especially. Yeah.
Oh, there was also which one was Heart to Heart. That was.
Oh yeah, that used to be,
that was a good one.
That was a good one too.
Did you ever watch Moonlighting?
Yes.
I keep looking for where I can stream that show, but it's not available anymore. So.
Oh, it's not. Oh man.
No.
And now that you say that, it's been a while since I've seen it too. You know, usually you see a lot of them coming.
They don't show reruns or anything. I love that show.
No.
I forgot about that one. That's a good one. And then I was going to ask you too. I want to get into a little bit of the characters, and we'll start with the hero, Isaac Taylor. Give us a little insight about Isaac and who he is as a person.
Isaac is, when we first meet him, he's very broken. He's kind of living in a self-imposed exile because he's got these abilities that he has never understood and always been afraid of and ashamed of. And when these abilities switch on or whatever, it's painful. Like I said, it's hard to do and not give away spoilers, but I guess this is.
Well, you can you can talk about the book as long as it's like not any major spoilers, like especially with a bit of mystery.
So Isaac's abilities are activated through touch. Like when he touches someone skin to skin. So like if he just touched my arm with the sweater, he'd be okay. But if he touched the back of my hand, then he's in trouble because he would see something about my life. Like if I was a bad guy and I had just murdered somebody, he'd see that, or, but when that flash of precognition or whatever happens, it's very, very painful for him. And the worse the person that he accidentally touches, the worse the pain. And so he's just kind of very closed off. He kind of lives his life like this,
right?
Afraid to touch anybody, and that's Isaac when we first meet him in book
And
1.
I actually felt the strain or him just being so confined in the first book, and first and second basically, and it was so refreshing to see in this book, even though he still avoids touching for the most part, but he's more comfortable. And then I like too that he's being accepted more by his co-workers and the people that he works around.
Yes.
Which makes it easier for him to move through his life, basically.
And that's new for him because he always thought, well, he had to hide it from everybody. But what he has discovered over the course of these first 10 books is that, he's weird, but people are willing to, accommodate that weirdness.
Right. And so it was a surprise to him once he started opening up. And I think Sydney drew that out of him and gave him courage to be able to do that.
Definitely.
Once he started opening himself up, people got to see who he was as a person.
And he's a great guy.
Right. And
great guy.
And so it was good to see him open up his circle more with the people that surround him. Because at first, in the beginning, I think he only had his brother, basically.
Yeah. Because, I mean, he had another brother and a sister and 2 parents, but he was even like this
with them.
Yeah.
Which was sad.
It's very sad. Yeah.
What did you think, Katina, of Isaac in this book?
He was refreshing. He was like the guy that I wanted to know. My husband and I always say that. We see actors on TV and we say, he's the type of guy that I'd like to just hang out with. And I see Isaac as that guy. He was so everybody was so drawn to him. And he poured, you could feel that he poured into everybody's life and they respected him, even though he was not so easy to receive it. That he couldn't even when Sydney would tell him how great he was, he was just am I?
Right. He still has a problem accepting it.
Right. It was so apparent. Yeah, you're an awesome dude, but he couldn't, he couldn't hold on to that wholly. Better probably from where he started, but just to see him, to see her, empower him,
right?
Right.
And that's the best compliment for a couple, I think. Yeah. Let me just, I see some people out here in the audience. I'm just going to bring their comments up on the screen. Hi, Lisa. Yes, I love their relationship. It's showing you as Facebook user. If you go at the top of the comments in the description, you'll see where you can give Facebook and StreamYard permission to show your face and your name, and then we can see who you are. Let me see this one, Blues. When we were talking about the shows,
yeah.
And then Heart to Heart, yes, that was definitely good. And then let's see. The story draws you in, and it's great to see the journey they are taking together. I think I took a weekend to just read one after another of the books, and I'm waiting for the next Isaac Taylor mystery. You and me both. You and me both. I love it. Love them. Okay, now we're going to move on to the heroine, Sydney, and get a little insight into her as a character.
Sydney. Well, when we first meet her, like I said, she's a victim. She's on the run and in hiding, and that kind of informs everything about her life. She's also living in seclusion, basically, which is why they have that in common. She stays away from, making real connections with anybody around her because she's hiding from someone,
Right.
yeah, who, as we see in book 2, really wants to kill her.
Right.
So,
She actually had a couple of people wanting to.
right. So on top of being in hiding in book 1, then she sees something that she knows can get her killed, and so it's like a double whammy for her in book 1.
Right. So that's why it was so refreshing to see her come into her own as well.
Yeah.
And see how Isaac has made her, given her courage and shown her that she's not a victim, basically.
Right.
And I just, like I said, I love them as far as I love how they love each other, how they support each other. Just them as a couple, besides being romantic, because they started out friends, basically, from them talking on the phone and getting to know each other that way. I also love how she is like, and I think she says in the book, she's a safe place.
Yeah.
For him.
She's his safe place. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially since she's the only one that he can touch.
Right.
Yes.
So that's huge.
That is very huge, very huge. And it makes you think that they were meant for each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna get to BG, Little Greer. And oh my gosh, I cannot say enough how I have fallen in love with this little boy. And my heart just broke for him, and everything that he had to go through in his little young life so far. And I just love the connection between him and Isaac. Can you give us a little bit of on him?
Well, I don't know. What do you want to know? He's so little, and do you have memories from back when you were 3 years old? Because I don't think I do.
Sometimes you think you do. Like, I think you may see weird little deja vu moments. And you're like, where did I remember that from? I don't know how it was. And you remember like a toy or something. But I don't know how old I was. I remember I see a picture or something, and you're like, I remember that jacket. But that's kind of where I would see it. Maybe, but that's about it.
Yeah, but that's where he's at. And he's so little.
Right.
And he's had this horrible life-changing experience, and how much of that is he going to remember as he grows up,
Right. And I think it was true that when Isaac was saying that, I hope that if by the time he gets to that age, it'll be just the pictures, of his mom and his dad that he just remembers, and not any of this, this mess that happened.
I would imagine, though, that there would be nightmares for someone that young.
And then he would not understand it, maybe.
Right.
Then later on in life, and then they would have to kind of fill in the blanks, maybe a little reluctantly, maybe. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
That would be hard as a parent.
There's really from here, like, lots of different directions that could go.
It's open, right?
Yeah.
But I'm sure, like he said, they would make it their business to make sure that he is like loved and like he has a safe place.
Right.
if it gets to that, you know.
Right.
But it did, you know, the moments with his mom, you know, little goosebumps. It's like,
yeah,
that was really good, and I was like, wow, I didn't see that coming, but that was I did love that part.
thank you.
I did love that because that just it kind of brought it back home, you know, that
what he's just gone through.
right. And then at that point, that's when he was like, you know, can I call you mommy? And then I was like, oh God. I'm done. I can't.
Right, and I
I'm
agree
so
with
happy
you.
I made you cry.
Yeah, because it was a couple of moments like that for me too. Like I said, I love the connection between him and Isaac from the beginning, and we find out that it's because Isaac, you know, had a bond with him for a while. We would see him in, you know, visions, but
right.
I also, like you were saying, Katina, the connection between Lil Greer and his mother, the bond, and
crazy.
That resonated with me so much. I lost my mother, but I do remember you were asking about, do we remember being young? I don't remember how old I was, but I do remember being small, and I woke up and I remember it raining outside, being lightning and thunder, and it woke me up, startled me, and I was really afraid. And I was left with a babysitter, but the babysitter had I don't even remember where the babysitter was, but I couldn't find him. My mother told me that she felt something was off and came home early. And so I do remember her coming home and me sitting on the stairs crying. So that was an early memory. And so when I read this, I was like, I can see this, that the mother's bond with this little boy and her wanting to make sure that he was all right and in a safe place would I understood it and I believed it. I believed it when that was one of my favorite scenes when Sydney came into the nursery and saw little Gris sitting there staring at the wall and singing. That, oh my goodness.
I'm fresh off the book, so it's still like goosebumpy for me.
Oh my goodness. Lashell, you wrote that scene. Oh my goodness. It was so heartfelt and just so believable.
Thank you.
It was so believable. And I love Sydney's reaction to it too.
You guys are gonna make me cry now.
I'm telling you, that is one of my favorite scenes in the book.
It really is.
And the way Sydney, like what she told Isaac, I can't even imagine how Kara, I think the mother's name is Kara, how Kara felt, and when you think about it, she would have been thinking about her child. So I can see the bond, I can see the connection, the bond, and her stand. You know, just well done.
Thank you.
Definitely well done. I'm going to get a few more comments. I see some more people. Let's see.
Uh-oh. Did we lose her?
I hope not.
She's coming back. Hold on.
So much going on. But, we got some electricity and going on out in the and stuff out there. So bear with me if I end up going.
Oh, okay.
Lord.
Oh man. Okay. This book seems like it could be set somewhere in the South, but it's actually set up north. I just love the chance to get lost in something other than what is happening now in our country. Let's Let's see. She also says, please keep this series going.
That's the plan.
I agree.
Good evening, Antoinette. Good evening.
Hi, Francis.
Let me see who else we have. It was awesome and made me want to cry. As a 4-year-old, quite a few. Oh, you have a few memories from 4? Sounds interesting. And yes, Antoinette, you are going. You know, we always telling each other about books. You have to check this series out. You will love it. You would love it.
This is Cheryl. She's 2 for 2. My first one was black, and now this one.
That's right. That's right. My other favorite series. You're right. And then I noticed that in this book, adoption and foster care were prominent in the book. Was that intentional?
Only in the sense that they needed to be able to keep baby Greer with them. So that's something that I actually set up 2 books ago.
Okay.
That they applied to become foster parents.
Yeah, I got that. And then with his partner Pete and his fiance Jada.
Oh, right.
And their adoption.
Yeah. No, that was just a coincidence that it all happened in the same book.
Okay.
but that was always planned during the course of the plotting that Pete would end up adopting his nephew. So
I like the relationship between Isaac and his lieutenant as well.
Yes.
And I love the way he calls him Lou for lieutenant.
Yeah.
Because at first I'm like, is his name Lou? But then I realized by the way it was spelled.
Right. And that's something else that comes from watching a lot of police type shows. Because I think it was Cagney and Lacey. They used to call their Lieutenant Lou.
Oh, it sure did. I forgot about that as well. Yeah. I forgot about that. Another character that I like all the way from book 1 is Isaac's brother Adam.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how he was always supportive of him, even when the rest of the family, didn't know how to take Isaac and his abilities. Right. Especially his father. But
well, they're close in age, and they were just best friends as little boys, and so that bond has always stayed the same.
Mm-hmm. And I love because when I felt for Isaac in the first couple of books, and how isolated he was, I love that he had his brother at least. And that his brother would try to draw him out and make him do things that he didn't want to do.
Just wrap him in a big unwanted bear hug.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I love their relationship as well. Because I love stories, and I've said this many times, stories with strong families and strong friendships. And we got both in this book and in this series.
And Sydney doesn't have, or at least she didn't in the beginning, didn't have much family of her own. But that's grown too. And
yes.
She and her brother are really tight. And again, not giving away any spoilers, but her family
has grown. Also. And then I like too that she's embraced, and they have embraced her. Isaac's family has embraced her.
Yes.
Which is huge.
Yeah, and they love her for obvious reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I liked too when we got introduced to what's her name, Ms. Willis.
Yes,
Granny Gammy as as little Greer calls her. Oh, and when they first saw each other too,
Yeah.
That was very heartfelt as well.
Yeah.
What you think, Katina?
She's a fan favorite for me for sure.
Mm-hmm.
She is like the ultimate grandmother,
Yes.
the
Well, the
cookies
plan
and
there is to keep her on the canvas, kind of fold
Good.
her into their family.
Yes, please. Because I felt bad for her too, because I can just imagine how bad she's already, what she's feeling about Kara, but being in a situation where she's elderly now and
a caregiver.
Yeah, and a caregiver.
So wow.
And I can't imagine what kind of, anguish that would be for her, because she loves the little boy.
That would be terrifying, probably.
Yes. So I was just thinking about that too when she was explaining it to Isaac and Sydney, her circumstances, and that was another heartfelt scene. It was so many in this book.
Was it and I hope am I getting this wrong? The relationship with Isaac, was that his grandfather or his?
Oh yeah, their
Sterling?
relationship. Yes.
Yeah.
That was great.
That was. And it's so much so that he stood out that I had to ask Lashell, okay, what book was he introduced? Because I didn't remember.
Yeah, that's in book 3. We meet both his family and her family.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he was a character too, and I loved him and Isaac's relationship. Now in the first 2 books, I don't remember Isaac having this relationship with him. Is that something that's new?
With the grandfather?
With the grandfather.
That all happens at the end of book 3.
Okay.
In the middle of book 3, it comes out that Isaac inherited these abilities from his crazy old grandfather. And it's, that's news to Isaac. He didn't know that before. And so towards the end of that book, he goes looking for him and he finds him.
Oh, good. Okay. So and so that explains the closeness of their relationship.
Yeah.
And that's another addition to his circle, and I love it. And because I like that he was able to call on him for advice with little Greer.
Yeah.
Just love the relationship. One of the what was I gonna say? The scene with Pete and Isaac when Pete was telling him how he felt about him. I believe they were
before the wedding.
I think it was when Pete was still in the hospital when they had this conference. Was it in the hospital? Or it might have been on his wedding, during his wedding, where he told Isaac how he really felt about him.
Yeah,
just the wedding. Yeah,
and I'm like, oh my goodness, it was so many moments like that, and you don't really see a lot where men, especially alpha males,
right. And it's interesting that you would say that because I don't really think of Isaac as an alpha. And I suppose he is, but I think he's more of a beta.
I think, yeah.
Yes.
Because you're right, he does feel more like a beta, except he has moments of where he feels like an alpha to me.
Right. He has moments when he rises to that.
Yeah.
Right. But I think his mindset, because he's used to being kind of down on himself, I think he's presents more as a beta most of the time.
And I think and that was shown in the 3 days when he had to be boss and his apprehension with it. And then when it happened and he just basically eased through it like he did it in his sleep. He still was a little like, I don't know, but it's kind of natural. It's natural, but he just doesn't know it.
Right.
That's how to say
exactly.
Yeah. And it's the same thing with his lieutenant as with Sydney. They see
see it.
Mm-hmm.
They see who he is and what he can be. But he still feels like it's just like with somebody who's been overweight all their life and then they lose all the weight, they still have that mentality.
That's a good analogy. That's a good analogy. Yeah.
And that's how it feels to me with him. And you know where else his alpha tendencies come out in the bedroom.
Well, yeah, in the bedroom. Yeah.
Oh my
He's
goodness.
still coming into his own in that room.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, Isaac. I was
okay, Tony. All right. So this is the funny. One of the things that I do when I'm reading a book and there's a scene, there's a sex scene or whatever scene it is, and there's music. I find the song and I play it.
Right.
While I'm reading it.
I do too.
So when I was like, wow. I was reading, I was envisioning the whole deal.
Yeah, right. Because I remember it from when I was a teenager, but I still had to put it on so I could get the whole vibe.
That was, yeah.
Oh man, you wrote those scenes too.
That's right.
But speaking of songs, you know, I am a true Michael Jackson fan, but I had never heard that song.
Me neither.
You're kidding.
No.
I never heard of that song.
It's one of my
I had to go back and listen to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What'd you think of it?
I loved it, and it was perfect for that scene.
Yeah, I just it just seems like a sweet little song that a mother would sing to her child.
And that had me boo-hooing. I'm like, oh no, she's gonna have me just boo-hooing all through this. Oh my goodness. But that was a perfect song. And Sydney, when she said she wanted to keep that song alive for him, to keep that connection with him and his mother. Oh my goodness. It's like, I love her. I do. I love her and Isaac's character. And that was another favorite scene. What was one of your favorite scenes, Katina, in the book?
So many. So many. I liked it was I think it was, I would say, the whole 3-day period with him
being
in charge and seeing everyone just fall in line, you know, with whatever he said, whatever he recommended.
Right.
And it felt like, okay, this dude, you know, I was almost proud. If that's the thing, I was almost proud, like, okay, this is Sydney was right. And you know, and he's in, you know, he's acting like he's just making it, and he's not really just making it. But that resonated with me. And there's some parts, the parts that I like are the parts that make your heart like, those are the parts that I like. And another one was the Jada Pete thing.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I gotta hurry up and read this because I, you know, I mean, what is she doing? Like, I was stressing out. My heart's beating fast. I'm like, nobody, what are you doing?
Yeah, I had another reader say that they were kind of mad at Jada when she left.
Yeah, I was kind of one of them because I was like, I don't understand what's happening. that was the tough one for me. Of course, the bigger moments with Sydney and Isaac, but that one, it just hit me because I didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
But then I understood, you know, where she was coming from, and at the same time, I was like, yeah, but you know, you've been with him all this time, but I don't know. But that one kind of,
yeah, I could definitely relate to what she was saying and her fear, especially with her going through what she did already.
Right.
It made a lot of
losing
sense.
a husband to a dangerous job.
Yeah. And I was wishing and hoping that someone would get through to her. like somebody talk to her,
and then talk to her, shake her,
and then it happened, and I was like, okay, thank God.
And Kathy is saying, I was going to say that because he is learning what he likes because he never was able to be close. I find the songs too, Katina. Yeah, I do too. I love when we have songs that are mentioned in the books, and I go ahead and because I want to experience it just like the character.
Right.
Yeah, in that scene. Yeah. One of my favorite scenes between Isaac and Sydney, I'm going to read it just so the audience can get an idea of what we're talking about as far as their connection. Hopefully the cough will stay away so I can read this. Okay. The scene, I'm gonna set it up there. They just took in the little boy who needed them. They're fostering him, and they're sitting at the dinner table. Sydney just put the food on the table, and here's the scene. This is delicious. This is delicious, darling. Thank you. Sydney smiled at him. There you go again. You don't have to thank me for dinner, Ike. Lately, I feel I should be thanking you for everything, Sid. You are amazing, and I want you to know that. Isaac, it was a surprise whisper tinged with emotion. I mean it. I think most women would have put up a fight if I sprung a surprise like Greer on them in the middle of the night. No warning, no preparation. But you jumped right in, ready to help me take on the world for him, and I'm just in awe of you. Sydney set her fork down and looked him in the eyes. Her steady gaze made his heart race and stirred his libido. Isaac, you are without a doubt the greatest man I have ever known. Do you have any idea how much I adore you for wanting? She paused and shook her head. No, for needing to help this little boy. Do you? Isaac shook his head, a strong wave of bewilderment bubbling in his belly. Your compassion toward him, the way you connected with him a whole year before he ever came into our lives, the fierceness and your determination to help solve his parents' murder, all of it, baby. Sydney reached out and took his hand. You say you're in awe of me, but I'm amazed by you, Ike. You have this amazing moral compass and such a strong sense of self. And coupled with the things you can do with the power of your mind, you are the real deal, Isaac. I know you hate the superhero comparisons, and I get why, but that's who you are to me, baby. And to him, she gestured to Greer with a nod of her head. Isaac squeezed her hand and then brought it to his lips to kiss. I don't deserve all that praise, darling. I'm just a man trying to do some good in my own small world. Yes, but the good you do is superior to the good most men do. Your good goes beyond. Your good is great. That's your baseline, Isaac, your starting point. That's what makes you a superhero. Isaac grinned and glanced down at the table before meeting her gaze again. You're biased, Sid. Very much so, but that doesn't mean I'm not right. They turned back to their dinner then, but Isaac couldn't completely let go of the heady feeling she gave him with her words. Did she truly believe the things she said to him? Did she think of him as her superhero? And if she truly did, why? Why did she feel that way? So many questions that he had no clue how to answer. What he did know for certain, though, was that she made him feel like a king, like her king. His Sydney gave him the greatest gift he could ever imagine, the gift of self-confidence. Earlier, she said he had a strong sense of self. If that were true, it was something she'd given to him because he certainly never had it before meeting her. Before Sydney, he spent his life hiding from who he really was, hiding from the monsters inside him, the psychic powers that plagued his life. It was only upon getting to know her that he'd been brave enough to even think about trying to embrace them. Whatever self-confidence he had today wouldn't exist if he had never met her. And that was one of my favorite scenes between them. It really showcases the bond and the connection that they have and the support that they give each other. So well done on that scene too. And hopefully it gives everybody in the audience an idea of who Sydney and Isaac are to each other as characters and as a couple. And I can't believe we are already at the time. Katina, did you have any, before we go, did you have any questions or comments that you wanted to ask?
Just that I thoroughly enjoyed this read. I finished it in a day, which is hard because I had kids to transport and things to do. But usually if I have to like get something or finish a book, I end up at 2:00 in the morning, like trying to lower my phone so my husband won't wake up.
I did the same thing. I like pull the covers up and I got my phone.
But this time, I did it, and I actually have a text to talk, a text to speech, I think, whatever it's called. So I would be able to drive and listen at the same time, so I could still like keep up with it because I couldn't put it down.
Mm-hmm.
I had to find out what was going on. So I say, well done. I cannot wait to go back and start over again and just from the beginning and just, land back here. And then when the next one comes out, you're all up to speed. So.
Right.
Thank you.
And speaking of, Lashell, can you give us the idea when the next one should be dropping? Or
I believe book 11 is scheduled for October.
Okay.
I think that's right.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait. And I'll make sure to go and check out your paranormal books as well.
Sure.
And then I have to go back and
I've actually got a new release coming in paranormal.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. Also sometime this I think it's July.
My birthday
July.
Okay.
It's book 3 in a series called the Rogue Moon series.
Do you suggest
starting at the beginning?
Yeah,
I do.
No, but I mean, which series should I start with as far as the paranormal? Do you think?
I would start with Rogue Moon just because that's the one that's got a release this year.
Okay. And for those who are new to you, which book would you suggest they start with? Would it be this series, the first book, or
definitely start with Voices and Visions of the Isaac Taylor Mysteries?
Francis says, keep writing about Isaac.
I intend to, Francis.
And she said, I would love to see him use his power. Yeah, me too. Use his powers more.
Well, that's coming because as much as he doesn't want it to, his powers just keep growing. So
yes, and that's one of my favorite as far as supernatural powers is telekinesis. So I was so glad to see him develop that. And
that's the one that freaks him out the most.
Right. And it
but it's there.
One of my favorites, because I love horror too. So in Friday the 13th, I think is the seventh one where the female character has telekinesis and she fights him off in that. Are you a horror fan too, or
not really? I mean, there are some horror movies that I do enjoy, but it's got to be a certain kind of horror. It's got to be more psychological.
Okay.
Than like demonic.
Gory enough. Yeah. The Ring, that would be one. Did you like The Ring?
I didn't see that.
Oh, you didn't?
Don't.
You didn't like that?
I mean, if you can. I saw Cheryl. You said she's a horror person. I am not. I usually do horror through finger vision. So. how I watch horror movies.
Right. Yeah.
Or shirt vision. So
I'm not really big on horror as much as I am.
I couldn't even listen. They did a spoof on it. I believe it was the
the Wayne Brothers.
Yeah, the Wayne, and I couldn't even watch that one.
Oh no! So you really are not a horror. You cannot.
And then my husband, we're watching Ghost Hunters and Paranormal, and he turns on these things like 8:00 at night, and I'm like, dude, how am I gonna sleep with this on my brain?
Right.
I can't do it.
But you know what? I try not to watch them too late either, just because I'm probably going to dream about it.
For sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I always have. I love horror, but along with mystery and thrillers and all of it. Francis is saying The Conjuring is good. Yes, it was, and it's very, very spooky. But you said the demonic stuff you stay away from, so that you wouldn't want that.
No.
I have a friend of mine. She went to the movies on her first date, actually, to see that movie, and she didn't know the guy, but she asked him to check her house before he left. Because so I said, yeah, I'm not a horror person. She's not either. I don't know why she did it, but
no, give me true crime any day.
So you like that? See, now that is something because I watched Dateline, but I had to step away from it for a long time. Yeah, because I'm like, it was just too. It was keeping me paranoid, and it was just too much.
Yeah,
and so depressing. But now that to me is more because I guess it's more real life.
Right.
So the horror I can deal with.
Because you got to think back to what we started with horror. We started with Amityville.
Right. The true stories, right?
Oh gosh, and I even went back. The Shining came on,
right?
See, The Shining, I love.
Right, and I watched it, and I was looking at it like, well, why was I scared of this before?
Compared to some, it is kind of.
Now I look at it now, and I was like, this is not
bad. But see, that's what I mean. Is The Shining is more like psychological to me,
right?
Absolutely,
yeah.
So you can handle those.
Those I can handle.
Again,
and we have something else in common. I'm a dog lover as well. You said you have two big dogs. Like, I don't have any right now because where we're staying, we can't have them. But I can't wait until I can have my dogs again. Yeah. What about you, Katina? You a dog lover?
I've had dogs since I was a kid. I can't shake it. It's elevated. It's hard. And, we've elevated from having multiples, then you take a break, because you have kids and then you just, I don't know. And then you have all of them. You have the kids and the dogs. And then we've elevated to like a chinchilla now. And, and rabbits and gerbils. It's insane.
Yeah, at one time when I first married my husband, we had 2 dogs, 4 cats, a bunny, and a bird.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, that would have drove me. That's just too many.
I'm sure vacations were fun.
That's expensive.
Yeah.
The kennel. Yeah.
Now, do we get any dogs in any of the stories? I know we had a cat in this one.
Yeah, there's a cat in this one, and there might be a dog in the future in this one. I haven't decided, but yeah, there's dogs in other stories.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. She says Rottweiler is what she had. And
I love Rottweilers.
And then Antoinette says
a menagerie. Yeah, it was a true menagerie.
But I have your information as far as your social media is going at the bottom of the screen.
I see that. Yeah.
So if you all want to keep in touch and reach out, like she says, she likes to hear from readers. So, and I definitely, like I said, I encourage you to go out and get Isaac Taylor Mystery. Start at the first book, and believe me, you will be drawn in You're probably gonna want to read them back to back to back to back. I'm telling you. So make sure to pick it up and to keep in touch with Lashell on her social media or her website. The information is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. And I'll also make sure to put it in the description once we're done here. And I want to thank you again for coming out today. I love the discussion. I love the book.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me here. I had so much fun.
Same here. Thank you, Katina, for coming out and helping me out today. I appreciate it.
Not a problem.
And everyone that's in the audience, thank you for coming out and joining us. And I'll be back next week with a new author. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you.